Ladies and gents, welcome back. It is looking as though there is a sea change happening in Canada. It looks like normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill, average voters are moving over from the Liberal Party and the NDP over to the Conservative camp. And well, there's some reasons for that. Let's get into some of this. Surging support for the Conservatives has Poilievre in sight of a majority. Now, not totally a majority just as of yet, but it's moving in that direction, and largely to do with a lot of things like the economy. Well, that's namely a big one, and a lack of public services, despite us having paid so much for them. While one pollster projection of 165 Tory seats is still short of the 170 needed to form a majority, it'll be enough to defeat any new attempts at a Liberal NDP coalition. You know, the coalition that they don't really have, but they totally have. The not so much of a real coalition. Now, nonetheless, a lot of financial support is moving towards the Conservatives here. Q2 showed that with the Liberal Party and the NDP together, they came in as just under half of what the CPC was able to fundraise. Now, don't think for 1 second that this is all small donors. This is all just your average voters pulling out of their wallets and giving over to the Conservative Party. No, this is large major donors, mostly in most probability, moving over because they see that the influence has changed and they want to move their influence as well, i.e. or vis-a-vis their support financially. They're going to move that over to the next people in party, the next people in government, so that they can obviously peddle their influence. Now, this is coming on the heels of Trudeau and his announcement recently. This is the great distraction from all the things that Justin Trudeau has been doing lately, namely interference with the elections and the previous elections that we had from the Chinese Communist Party. Let's not look at that. Let's look over here. But what were we looking at? Or Justin Trudeau and wife Sophie Gregoire Trudeau separating after 18 years of marriage. Many asking, what's the timing about this? Well, it looks like largely Blacklock's reporter was reporting on the fact that Sophie has put herself in a position where she won't be looked at by the Ethics Commission because she's no longer attached to Trudeau in this light. Now, this isn't stopping them from taking vacations together and doing all that stuff, but it's definitely put it out there for the image of the average voter that this guy is not. He's not strong with commitments. He's not as much of a family man as people maybe once thought. Now, what he's doing out on social media is telling people, no, look at me. I'm totally a family man. With this really bizarre picture of him and his son going to Barbie, because that's, a usual pastime for men and their sons. But this is, the unusual thing. And then he came back with it because of, wanting to still remain in the media after asking everybody for privacy, going out there on his public privacy tour, of course, begging for privacy while showing all of the things that he's doing in his private life. Balance things out, going to Oppenheimer with Ella, and I'm assuming this is his daughter, and they're going to another film that I don't know if is really for kids, but hey, bring your kids to, the patriarchy movie and to the movie about Oppenheimer and the bomb. So, well, that's a thing. Now, Poilievre is moving in the opposite direction. He's trying to foster the image of being a family man, and this is his attempts at doing that. Andrew Coyne on Twitter putting this out there. My latest, the Conservatives have prepared a series of new ads designed to make Pierre Poilievre more likable. I have the outtakes, and well, this is his article here. Outtakes from a kinder, gentler Pierre Poilievre effort to flip the script. Conservative Party is set to launch a major advertising blitz aimed to, in part, at introducing a more personable side of Pierre Poilievre to Canadian voters, a kinder, gentler image of a man known in Ottawa circles as a sharp-elbowed partisan. And then he goes into a bunch of the scripts for these ads. Now, I'll leave a link in the description. You can go read this article for yourself. But these ads are out there. Some of them are already out there anyway. And this is Anna Poilievre putting this one out there on Twitter. My husband is doing this. Now, it's also on their YouTube page here. You can go check out the YouTube channel for Pierre Poilievre. Again, links in the description down below. But let's have a look at one of these new ads that is put out there by Anna Poilievre.
Who is Pierre Poilievre? Many know him as the common sense leader the country needs. His school teacher parents know him as the boy they adopted and raised in their modest home in the suburbs of Calgary. His dad knows him as the son he took to early morning hockey games. His neighbors know him as the boy who used to deliver the morning newspaper. His children know him in Francais, Espanol, and English as Papa. And I know him as a guy who loves me for who I am, a Canadian who came to call Canada home, and his wife. So when Pierre says, it doesn't matter who you know or where you're from, but rather who you are and where you're going, these aren't just empty words. He's lived it. Common sense. Let's bring it home.
So Pierre Poilievre obviously taking the opportunity to show himself as a family man in the wake of Trudeau's news about splitting. Now, of course, Trudeau had, there's speculation to see that Trudeau did this because he may be able to get out of legal trouble if the Ethics Commission were to try to look into the finances. As we saw during the WE scandal, they looked into the finances of the Trudeau family and the family members and showed that a lot of money was funneling into them. And a lot of people making accusations of corruption there. So the reason for it, but political fodder is political fodder. So Pierre Poilievre is going out there showing Canadians that he's a family man, and it's winning the support of many Canadians out there who are just not partisan voters, but people who are just looking for who they're going to vote next if there is another election. Some people saying there may be one in the fall. We've yet to hear anything of that, but there's more ads, putting the pieces back together. Pierre obviously again showing that he's a family man.
Everything feels broken in Canada. Unaffordable, unsafe, divided. But we can put the pieces back together with a government that lives within its means, leaves more in your pocket, and lets you get ahead, that protects our streets and unites our people in the Canada we know and love. Let's bring it home.
So obviously a strong message of family there. Now in his other ads, he brings out the message of the fact that the Liberals bringing on carbon taxes is actually hurting the economy tremendously. And this is a great issue for a lot of Canadians as the price of food has been going up. The price of everything has been going up. The price of food is going up largely due to, well, inflation from spending so much money on the federal level, printing new money to make that possible, as well as the carbon tax that is driving prices up all over the economy.
It's going to increase our costs dramatically.
Right. What does that do to your operation?
We take a little bit on the chin and reduce our profits, but we also have to pass it on to the consumer as well.
Right. So it's a tax on food.
Tax on the consumer.
All right. So if you like to eat, and now that you know that food doesn't come from the grocery store, that it has to come from the farm here, an old Stanley's farm, then it has to go in a truck, which also requires fuel. Now you understand
Beautiful scenery,
that a carbon tax raises the cost of everything in the supply chain that goes from this field to your fork. So my plan is to axe the carbon tax to bring down the cost of fuel and fertilizer, which will bring home lower food prices. What do you?
Now, that would be welcomed by a lot of people. Whether or not he actually does that when he gets into government is another story. So we'll see where that comes in. But he is talking a good game, and he is talking about the things that are concerning to many Canadians.
We have 20,000 immigrant doctors and 32,000 immigrant nurses banned from working, not because they're unqualified, but because there is no direct way for them to prove their qualifications. They're already here. They're Canadian citizens. Yeah, he says they're driving. You know, it's funny. They say if you have a heart attack in Canada, don't call 911, call a taxi, right? Because you've probably got a brilliant doctor driving that cab. But in Canada, we have a stupid system that shuts him out of doing his work. It boils my blood to sit in the waiting room with my little girl who's got a migraine headache because we don't have doctors to see her. We've got 20,000 of them that would be happy to get to work if only they could take a test. And then there's 32,000 immigrant nurses that are blocked from our system as well. The Filipino ambassador told me only 11% of Filipino nurses are allowed to work. In the States, they write an international exam and get to work in a couple of weeks. Here, we shut them out of their job for years. So here's my common sense plan. We have the red seal for the trades. Any red seal tradesmen here?
One
here we
here.
are.
One
God
right
love
here.
the tradespeople. God love the tradespeople. We have nothing for the professions. So let's bring in a blue seal for the professions so anyone trained abroad can take an exam, prove they're qualified, and we can bring home more doctors, nurses, engineers, architects, and powerful paychecks.
Yeah, that is a really good point. One point that he did not bring up in this, though, was the fact that we have many nurses in a few of the provinces that were kicked out of their jobs. They were fired because they didn't comply with COVID-19 rules. They're still not working in British Columbia, I believe in Nova Scotia, and they could get right back to work if we put them back to work. So that's another reason why. And of course, what he said makes sense there, just adding in what he failed to mention on that one. Now, the Liberal Party has their own YouTube channel, and they have their own political ads. What they've been running recently is a pandering ad saying that, an ad saying that, accusing Pierre Poilievre of not pandering enough to the LGBT alphabet soup group in both French and English, as well as attack ads on the fact that Pierre Poilievre is not doing enough for the climate change issue. And this is, they're blaming forest fires on climate change. If you've been watching the channel, I've largely disputed that claim. But that still remains one of those. But anyway, I wanted to bring this stuff to your attention this morning. Love to hear your comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about, the idea of family, the institution of family, and why this is so important, and why so many people who are largely nonpartisan, just your average voters that would go one way or the other, fence sitters, if you'd like to call them that, why they're shifting their vote largely due to influence on who cares about family, who actually puts their concern into this. It's come down to a race between Pierre Poilievre and Justin Trudeau at this point, and it looks like a lot of people are leaning on Pierre Poilievre's camp. Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section down below. We'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.